It's a story etched in tragedy, a stark reminder that even the deepest bonds can shatter in the face of unforeseen circumstances. This is the story of Zane Marston and the orca nanny at OceanLand Marine Park. But to truly understand the events that unfolded on that fateful day, we need to rewind to a time when trust seemed unbreakable, and the allure of OceanLand Marine Park shimmered with innocent wonder. Imagine a young boy, eyes wide with fascination, pressed against the glass of a massive tank. Inside, a creature of immense power and grace glides effortlessly through the water. This was Zane Marston's first encounter with an orca, a moment that ignited a lifelong passion. From that day forward, Zane devoured every book, every documentary, every piece of information he could find about these magnificent marine mammals. He was captivated by their intelligence, their complex social structures, and their raw, untamed beauty. He knew with unwavering certainty that he wanted to dedicate his life to understanding and working with orcas. Years of dedicated study, an unwavering commitment followed. Zane excelled in marine biology programs, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. He volunteered at marine rescue centers, gaining invaluable hands-on experience. He wasn't just learning about orcas, he was learning to connect with them, to understand their subtle cues and their individual personalities. Then, the opportunity of a lifetime arose, a position at OceanLand Marine Park. For Zane, it was a dream come true. OceanLand, at the time, was a renowned facility, a place where visitors could marvel at the majesty of orcas up close. The park boasted state-of-the-art facilities, experienced trainers, and a strong commitment to animal welfare. Or so it seemed. OceanLand presented an image of harmony and respect, a place where orcas were celebrated and cared for. The trainers were portrayed as dedicated professionals, forging deep bonds with their animals. And for Zane, at first, that image seemed to hold true. He was quickly immersed in the daily routines of the park, learning from seasoned trainers, assisting with feeding and enrichment activities, and observing the orcas' behavior. He was meticulous, patient, and deeply respectful of the animals in his care. He understood that these were powerful creatures, deserving of the utmost consideration. Among the orcas at OceanLand, one stood out: Nani, a female orca of impressive size and striking beauty. Nani possessed a unique personality, a blend of playful curiosity and quiet intelligence. She had been at OceanLand for many years and had become a star attraction, captivating audiences with her breathtaking performances. Zane was immediately drawn to Nani. He spent countless hours observing her, learning her individual quirks and developing a deep understanding of her behavior. He approached her with a gentle, patient demeanor, earning her trust through consistent, positive reinforcement, and Nani responded. She seemed to recognize Zane's genuine affection and respect. A bond began to form, a connection built on mutual trust and understanding. Zane and Nani became a team, working together seamlessly during training sessions and performances. Their connection wasn't just professional, it was personal. Zane spoke of Nani as a friend, a companion. He marveled at her intelligence, her empathy, and her ability to connect with humans on a deep emotional level. He believed, with all his heart, that he was making a positive difference in her life, providing her with enrichment, stimulation, and a sense of purpose. The performances at OceanLand were spectacular, showcasing the orcas' incredible athleticism and intelligence. But for Zane, they were more than just entertainment. They were an opportunity to educate the public about these magnificent creatures. to inspire awe and respect for the natural world. He believed that Sealand, despite its inherent limitations, could be a force for good, a place where people could learn to appreciate and protect orcas and their ocean home. He poured his heart and soul into his work, driven by a deep sense of purpose. For years, Zane thrived at Sealand. He rose through the ranks, becoming a respected and trusted member of the training team. He was living his dream, working with the animals he loved, and making a positive impact on the world. But beneath the surface of the shimmering pools and dazzling performances, a darker reality was beginning to unfold. The pressures of captivity, the constant demands of performance, and the inherent limitations of a life confined within concrete walls were taking their toll on Nani and the other orcas at Sealand. The cracks were beginning to appear, subtle at first, but growing wider with each passing day, and Zane, caught in the enchantment of his dream, was about to be confronted with the devastating truth. Nani's story didn't begin on that fateful day. It stretches back over a decade, a life lived almost entirely within the confines of OceanLand Marine Park. Captured off the coast of Iceland at a young age, she was brought to Sealand and quickly became one of their star attractions. Initially, Nani seemed to adapt well. She was intelligent, eager to learn, and possessed a natural showmanship that captivated audiences. Her trainers, including Zane, spoke of her quick wit and the unusual ease with which she picked up new routines. She was the powerful and graceful star that Sealand needed. But beneath the surface, the relentless routine, the unnatural environment, and the absence of her family was slowly chipping away at her spirit. The early years were marked by success. Nani learned complex routines, responded to commands with precision, and formed seemingly strong bonds with her trainers. But even then, subtle signs hinted at an underlying unease. Older trainers, who had worked with orcas for decades, whispered about moments of unpredictability. Fleeting instances where Nani would deviate from her training, showing a flash of what they called wildness. As Nani matured, these incidents became more frequent. The training staff, though largely dedicated to their jobs, found themselves increasingly challenged. The close-knit relationship she once enjoyed began to show some strain. Zane, ever the optimist, attributed these behavioral shifts to simple boredom or the need for more stimulating routines. He pushed for changes, advocating for more diverse training exercises and increased playtime. But the underlying issue remained: captivity. Nani was a highly intelligent, social animal, confined to an artificial environment, deprived of the vast ocean and the complex social structure of her pod. The small enclosure, compared to the hundreds of miles orcas swim daily, could not possibly fulfill her natural needs. The constant noise of the crowds, the repetitive nature of the performances, the artificial lighting, all contributed to a mounting sense of stress and frustration. Veterinarians at the park started noticing increased levels of cortisol, a stress hormone, in Nani's blood samples. They recommended changes to her diet and adjustments to her training schedule. Yet, the core problem persisted. A captive orca is still a wild animal, and no amount of enrichment can fully replicate the natural environment she was born to inhabit. In the months leading up to the tragedy, the signs became increasingly difficult to ignore. Nani began exhibiting erratic behaviors during training sessions. She would ignore commands, refuse to perform certain routines, and even display subtle acts of aggression towards her trainers. These weren't overt attacks, but rather small gestures of defiance. A tail slap that sent water splashing over the trainers. a refusal to come when called, a prolonged period of staring off into the distance, seemingly lost in thought. Some of the newer trainers voiced their concerns, expressing their discomfort with Nani's unpredictable mood swings. They spoke of a growing sense of unease, a feeling that something was not right. However, their concerns were often dismissed as inexperience or a lack of understanding of orca behavior. Zane, who had worked with Nani for so many years, remained steadfast in his belief that their bond was strong enough to overcome these challenges in the days immediately preceding the attack. Nani's demeanor shifted noticeably. She became increasingly withdrawn, spending long periods floating motionless in the pool, her eyes seemingly devoid of their usual spark. She ate less, and her interactions with the other orcas in the park became strained. She often isolated herself, keeping to the far side of the pool, away from the others. On the morning of the attack, the atmosphere around Nani was palpably different. The air hung heavy with a sense of foreboding. Her movements were sluggish, her responses delayed. As Zane approached her for the start of the morning training session, he noticed a strange intensity in her eyes, a coldness that he had never seen before. There was a flicker of something, almost resentment, that sent a chill down his spine. Despite his unease, Zane pressed on, attributing Nani's behavior to a temporary mood swing. He believed that with patience and understanding, he could coax her back to her usual self. He began the training session with simple commands, gentle gestures, and soothing words. But Nani remained unresponsive, her eyes fixed on some distant point, her body tense and coiled. Zane, ever perceptive, sensed a shift in Nani's energy. The connection that had once been so strong, so reliable, now felt fragile, almost non-existent. He paused the training session, attempting to re-establish that bond, to bridge the gap that had suddenly widened between them. He reached out to touch her, a gesture of reassurance, a sign of affection. But as his hand approached her, Nani flinched, a subtle movement that spoke volumes. In that instant, Zane realized that something was profoundly wrong. The trust that had been the foundation of their relationship was gone, replaced by something darker, something more dangerous. The years of captivity, the pressure to perform, the deprivation of her natural instincts, had finally reached a breaking point. The cracks beneath the surface had widened into gaping chasms, and the once unbreakable bond between Zane and Nani was about to shatter in the most tragic and irreversible way imaginable. The unthinkable had happened. On March 12, 2018, the vibrant world of OceanLand Marine Park was shattered. Zane Marston, a beloved trainer known for his unwavering dedication and deep connection with the orcas, was dead. He wasn't killed by an accident. He was killed by Nani, the very orca he had devoted years to understanding and caring for. The attack was swift and brutal. Witnesses described a scene of utter chaos as Nani, during what appeared to be a routine training session, turned on Zane with shocking ferocity. There was no clear warning, no escalating series of aggressive behaviors that might have alerted the other trainers to the impending danger. One moment, Zane was calmly directing Nani. The next, he was struggling for his life in the orca's powerful grip. The immense size and strength of a 30-foot, several-ton orca are difficult to comprehend. Nani repeatedly submerged Zane, thrashing him violently in the water. The other trainers, paralyzed with disbelief, scrambled to intervene, throwing ropes and attempting to distract the enraged orca. But their efforts were futile. Nani's focus was singular, her power overwhelming. The water, once a playground of synchronized movement and shared trust, became a churning vortex of panic and desperation. By the time they were able to extract Zane from the pool, it was too late. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, but the injuries he sustained were catastrophic. Zane Marsden, the man who had dedicated his life to these magnificent creatures, was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The immediate aftermath was one of profound grief and shock. OceanLand Marine Park, once a symbol of entertainment and wonder, was now a scene of tragedy. The park was immediately closed as authorities launched a full investigation into the incident. The local community, devastated by the loss of a well-respected and beloved figure, struggled to reconcile the gentle image of Zane with the horrifying circumstances of his death. The investigation into the incident was extensive, involving marine biologists, animal behaviorists, and law enforcement officials. Every aspect of Nani's history, her training, her environment, and her interactions with Zane was scrutinized. The focus was to determine the cause of the unprecedented attack. Was it a sudden, inexplicable act of aggression? Or was it the culmination of years of stress, confinement, and the unnatural demands of captivity finally taking its toll? While the precise trigger for Nani's actions remains a subject of debate, many experts point to the inherent psychological and physical stressors of orca captivity. These animals evolved to roam vast ocean territories, hunt cooperatively in tight-knit pods, and engage in complex social interactions. Are confined to relatively small concrete tanks. They are subjected to repetitive training routines, often deprived of natural foraging opportunities, and forced to perform for human entertainment. The result, many argue, is a profound sense of frustration, boredom, and psychological distress. This distress can manifest in various ways, including increased aggression, self-harming behaviors, and, in rare but tragic instances, attacks on humans. The Zane Marsden tragedy became a stark and devastating example of the potential consequences of keeping these highly intelligent and emotionally complex creatures in captivity. The incident sparked a global outcry. Animal rights activists, already vocal about the ethics of marine park entertainment, seized on the tragedy as a powerful indictment of the industry. Protests erupted outside OceanLand and other marine parks around the world. Demands for the release of captive orcas, increased scrutiny of animal welfare practices, and a complete overhaul of the marine park industry became louder and more insistent. The death of Zane Marsden became a rallying cry for activists, a symbol of the inherent risks of forcing these magnificent animals to live in unnatural conditions. Organizations like the Orca Freedom Society and the Animal Welfare Institute intensified their campaigns, using Zane's story to raise awareness and galvanize public support. The legacy of Zane Marsden extends far beyond the confines of OceanLand Marine Park. His death forced a critical reevaluation of the ethical considerations surrounding orca captivity. It led to increased awareness of the psychological and physical needs of these animals and prompted a broader debate about the role of marine parks in education and conservation. While OceanLand Marine Park eventually closed its doors, the broader debate about orca captivity continues. The tragedy of Zane Marsden remains a powerful reminder of the complex relationship between humans and animals, and the responsibility we bear to ensure their welfare. It serves as a call to action, urging us to question the ethics of entertainment that comes at the expense of animal freedom and well-being, and to strive for a future where orcas and all animals are treated with the respect and dignity they deserve.